You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talks on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here at TGI Sports Talks, one-on-one with Keith Engle. It's funny, the music ended exactly when it needed to today. I didn't have to lower it, cut it off. We didn't have an awkward stop. Never happens. I want to welcome everybody this morning. My guest in a few minutes will be Tony Collins, former standout running back with the Patriots. Actually, Tony was there during my entire, almost my entire run of season tickets back in the 80s. Sounds like a long time ago, but it doesn't feel like a long time ago. That's what's weird. We'll get into that. Welcome everybody watching today, though, on Facebook, our TGI Sports Talk page, my personal page, our YouTube page, X. We're live, of course, on Roku, on the National Streaming Sports Channel. We welcome everybody there, and get that app downloaded. It's a great app. A lot of great content, guys, all day long. Not just my shows, but, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and then some, repeat efforts as well. I want to thank all the groups that allow me to share this show and all my shows too. A few of them are Sports Authorities with John Gonzalez, one of the best run groups out there. Flo and the Gang over at Bottom Line Sports, who have a great podcast, and they do it on live on Let's Talk Sports, who's still a good friend of the show. We don't broadcast there live anymore, but we do share our content, and they're very good about that. And another place with a lot of great content for you guys. Ken Krause at Golf Bud Sports of all sorts. And then there's dozens and dozens and dozens more that allow us to share and get some great reach. Thumbs up to DDH. You know where you are or what you mean to this show. Ralph Williams at RW Media. Quick shout out to him, specifically the Sports Corner. He does great stuff on RW Media, specifically the Sports Corner that he does with Smoke and Jim Frazier every Tuesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I've been a guest on the show, and I really enjoy it. And lastly, a thank you to my last week's guest, Richard Todd, former quarterback with the New England Patriots. That's a faux pas in itself. Little Tony hears me say that. I know he played against Richard. So with the Jets, and obviously a star at Alabama before that. Tony Collins, as I said, a star at East Carolina, second-round draft pick with the Patriots, played in a Super Bowl, played in a Pro Bowl, really good player, tandem with some great running backs like Craig James and some others. We'll talk about some of the quarterback situations, the coaching situations. The 80s and 90s, the 80s were very interesting in New England from a fan standpoint, and I'm sure from a player standpoint. We'll get into some of that, and we'll talk about some of Tony's the road that Tony's taken and how he's turned that into a positive. He's got a book that I'll put up right here quickly before I bring him in. Broken Road, Turning My Mess into a Message, which I think is a tremendous title. And we'll get into that with Tony. And we'll also talk about some of the, I brought Tony in. Good morning, Tony. I brought you a little bit before I mentioned it. We'll get into some of the stuff Tony's gone through post-football as well. But good morning, Tony. I was trying to get rid of the...
How you doing, man?
I appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us this morning. I know it's a little earlier than it is here in Baton Rouge, but most of the guys I talk to are like early risers anyway, so I hope that's the case for you.
I'm an early riser too, so it's no big deal.
Well, I'm going to start doing the show at 5 a.m., so it's going to be hard to probably do people. So. I do appreciate you coming in, and I want to get into your career. And I like to start with guys, especially when I have somebody that, started out their football career basically only a couple hours from me in upstate, central, western New York, whatever we want to call it, I guess, because I just found out where your academy was. You grew up, though. Tell me how we grew up in Florida, and we end up in western New York playing high school football. How did that come about?
Well, actually, I didn't grow up. I was born in Florida, and the year that I was born, actually 5 months of me being born, we actually moved to upstate New York. My
Wow.
my family, well, my cousins have moved up there first, and it was better jobs and everything for my dad and for my mom. So we all moved up. Now you got to understand, it was 16 of us. I'm from a family of 16, and so we all moved up to New York and settled there in this really, really small town.
Your immediate family is 16?
16 of us. Yeah.
So you have, I can't do math. I went to Perth High School. I can't math, but
15 other brothers and sisters. Well, I had 15 other brothers and sisters. So a lot of them are not here anymore.
Well, I'm sorry for those, but that's amazing.
I was actually number 15. So I was like the baby, almost the baby when we moved to upstate New York. I was the baby at 15.
We're the baby
in 1959. So yeah, we moved up there, man. And it was the crazy thing about it is, it was all white town. There's no blacks in the town but us, and so we all got along really well because we were all good at sports. So they all wanted us to play sports.
Depending on the size of the town, you might not have been the minority there, even if we were.
Yeah, but it was great growing up in Penn, man. I love Penn. I didn't know how beautiful it was until I actually left it. We were actually right on the lake, Cuca Lake, and just a lot of great things up there in Penn. Just a great town, great people.
Rick, it must have been some interesting time at the dinner table, Rick.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun in our house. A lot of fun.
I mean, usually I would tell people, buy a television or something, but if they bought a television, you wouldn't be here talking to me today. So, oh gosh. Anyway, so you grew up in Western Central. I don't know. What did you guys consider? There are people who'll say upstate New York, and you said it. Actually, I don't consider, because I grew up in the Albany, area.
We're just upstate as Albany. You guys are just east of us. That's all.
Yeah, I know, but I got to go west to get you. This is Western New York. But, I guess there's no big change because you're 5 months old. You don't know that the weather's so much better in Florida than it is in Western New York.
Absolutely not. I didn't know nothing about the weather, but I know it gets really cold up in Penn, and that's why I'm down here in Louisiana now. And now it's cold down here. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But yeah, it was great growing up in that town, man. It was a great town.
Great town. You went to Penn Academy.
Penn Academy.
You want
no player out of that academy has ever gone on and play in the pros. Now you got to understand too. My father played in the Negro League, and so we were all athletes. Even the girls, all of us were athletes, and we all played baseball because our dad loved baseball and wanted us to play baseball, and so we all played baseball. But we all loved football. Football was our sport, and so I followed my brothers. I had a brother, actually, his name was Morris. We called him Moose. He was actually better than I was. He just followed some different steps and didn't do the different steps that he needed to do to get where he wanted to go. But we all wanted to play in the league. We all had goals to play in the league. And so, I tell kids this all the time. What you think about the most will come to you. When I was like 10 years old, I actually went to my mom and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I am going to play in the NFL, just like that. Not knowing what I was doing at the time, but I was speaking my future into the present. And so the crazy thing about it was, man, when I told my mom that I was going to play in the NFL, this is what she said to me. She said, son, whatever you want to do, you put your mind to it, you can do it. And at that moment, at 10 years old, man, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Keith. At that moment, when my mom said that, I knew I was going to play in NFL. And the thing about it was so crazy. We would be out in the backyard with my brothers and stuff playing football. My brothers would go inside, but I would stay outside all by myself, pretending to be in the NFL at 10 years old, pretending to be in the Super Bowl, pretending to do all these crazy things, man. I lived it in my backyard, and I actually got a chance to play in the Super Bowl. So
Who were you playing for? Who'd you play for in those games in your backyard? Who was your team?
My team was the Cleveland Browns. I was a big Jim Brown fan back then.
All right, okay.
That was my team, Cleveland Browns.
And they're one of the few teams that haven't actually made it to a Super Bowl. So we can blame that on Tony Collins pretending he was in the Super Bowl with the Browns. I won't tell anybody over there. That's interesting. So when do you start to get noticed playing in? Again, I don't know.
Yeah, in Penn, it was really tough, man, because it's a small school. We were a small school, no question about it. I got some hits from Syracuse a couple times. Took a visit to Syracuse. At that time, they didn't have the dome, and so I was trying to go south. I really wanted to go south to play in the warm, and my goal was to go to University of Florida. My father's brother, my uncle, had a little connection at the University of Florida, so they got me to come down there. They for a visit. Now you got to understand something. I went to Florida on a visit, and your senior year you get 5 official visits, and my 4th visit was to the University of Florida. But you got to understand, it was the first time that I've ever been on an airplane before, and I was really excited, man. I was just totally excited about getting on the airplane. And I got on the airplane, went down to the University of Florida. This is 1976. It went down there, and man, it was fantastic. Their colors are orange and blue.
Yeah.
The Pinyan was orange and blue. So it's got to be the perfect match, right? It's got to be the perfect fit. And I went down there. I loved it. Loved the coaches. I can't even remember who was the head coach at that time.
I was trying to think Galen Hall, I think.
It might have been. I have no idea. But anyway, I came back home. Actually, back then you signed the letter of intent. I signed the letter of intent. I'm going to the University of Florida. I get back home, and I get a phone call from Pat Dye. And Pat Dye, I know you remember Pat Dye.
Absolutely.
Pat Dye was at East Carolina at the time.
I know.
Pat Dye calls me up on the phone, and he says, "We see you have another visit. Would you like to come to East Carolina for a visit?" I was like, "East Carolina? I never heard of East Carolina, back in 1976. But my first question to him was, "Are you guys going to fly me on the visit?" They said, "Yeah, we're going to fly you." I said, "Hell yeah, I'm coming." I get to get on the airplane again. The only reason I went to East Carolina for a visit was to get on the airplane again. And I went down there, man, and I met with Pat Dye, had a great meeting. And this is what he told me. He said, "Son, if you come here, you'll get an opportunity to play, and you'll get an opportunity to play in the NFL." The coach at Florida didn't tell me that. So I'm like, this is where I want to go. So I call home. Back then there was no cell phones, so I'm calling home, and I had to call collect. I didn't have no money. I called collect, call home, and said, "Look, I don't think I want to go to East Carolina. I don't want to go to Florida anymore. I want to go to East Carolina." And my mom and my dad was like, "Oh, no, son, you don't know what you're doing right now. You're not thinking this through." I said, "Mom, I want to go to East Carolina. Dad, I want to just come on back home and we'll talk about it." But I had my mind made up, man. I chose East Carolina over Florida in 1976, and my brothers thought I was crazy, but it was the right decision. And Pat Dye was a great coach. He was like a father figure to me, man, and I made the right move with that one.
Well, I think it was mutually beneficial. Pat Dye made out pretty good when he moved on to Auburn after.
Yeah, he sure did.
Well, it's funny. I thought he went right to Auburn, but he went to. It seems like a strange go to Wyoming in between, but that was kind of weird. That doesn't seem like a step up from East Carolina to me.
No, I know, right? But I think he had a chance to go to North Carolina State, but I guess he didn't want to go to North Carolina State, and so he went to Wyoming. And I think he knew he had some kind of connection in Auburn where he gonna. I only think he went to Wyoming for maybe 1 year. I'm not really
1
sure.
year. Yeah, it was 1
year. And then from there he went to Auburn. So
and didn't have a great year at Wyoming either. I think he was under 500 too. So it's kind of weird, that whole thing. I always thought, until I was doing some research for this conversation, that he went directly from East Carolina to Auburn.
Went to Wyoming first. I don't know.
But you guys had some really good teams at East Carolina. We never think about East Carolina as a football power because they were independent at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they're in Conference USA now. But it seems like most years they've had pretty good football teams. I've gone to a lot of bowl games, had good success there.
When I was there, the most games we lost in the season was 4. I mean, we made the Independence Bowl I think my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we ran the wishbone, man, too, and we had some great backs, Eddie Hicks and Theodore Sutton and Willie Hawkins. Those are some good guys, man. And we didn't carry the ball. I didn't carry the ball maybe on an average, maybe 10 at the most 12 times a game. So I only got like 12 touches the whole time because we had so many good backs. And I think my junior year I'm almost positive we led the nation in rushing at 1979, and I averaged maybe like I think it was crazy, like 7.6 yards a carry or something like that.
Well, yeah, you ran for over 1,000 yards that year, if my memory from what I looked at is correct. And with that few touches, you had to average 7 or 8 yards. So, that's true. And there's some tremendous running backs that year, Charles White and Billy Sims nationwide. So, you kind of rank up there with some of the better running backs that came out of the NFL at that time. And you mentioned the Independence Bowl, too. People may not think today that's such a big deal, but back then there was only about, 12 bowl games. There wasn't a lot of bowl games.
Wasn't a lot of bowl games like there is now. There's like 100 bowl games now.
It feels like it. It feels like it. So it was a really big deal to make a bowl game back then. So that's an accomplishment for sure. You said Pat Dye was like a father figure. Would you call him one of your biggest influences on your early life, your early career?
Absolutely. He was a man that you would want to run through a door for, man. He was, he worked you hard. But the one thing I liked about Coach Dye, he was honest. He was honest with you. He let you know where he stood with you, and if you weren't doing what you're supposed to do, you're not going to play. Because my thing was my freshman year, I didn't start my freshman year because I didn't know how to block. In high school, I just ran the ball all the time and catch the ball. And so when you got to East Carolina, you had to block because in the wishbone, you're a blocking back. One of your blocks was very important in the wishbone.
Right.
So I really had to learn how to block. And Eddie Hicks, I remember Eddie Hicks. Eddie Hicks is no longer with us today, but he taught me. He really taught me how to block, how to cut, and I learned it because I knew if I didn't know how to block, Pat Dye wasn't going to play me. It didn't matter how good I could run the ball, he wasn't going to play me. So I knew how to block. So
you mentioned that very early in your life, you knew you were going to the NFL. Did these 4 years solidify that feeling, or did that change at all, or was it just? It didn't
change at all, man. Because my freshman year, I didn't play that much, but there was. It's a thing that I say all the time to kids when I speak to them. What you think about the most will come to you, and I'm going to tell you, Keith, and every single day, there wasn't a day go by. I can't believe there wasn't a day go by that I did not think about playing in the NFL. Not one day. And I stand to this today, man. And I tell kids all the time, your thoughts are so important. You have all these negative thoughts, you're going to get negative results. You have positive thoughts, you're going to get positive results. And it really worked for me. I mean, it really. There was no doubt in my mind. I didn't get injured at all through college. I remember I had some cracked ribs or whatever, but never really missed a game because of an injury. And so my goal was just to make it to the NFL. I didn't drink. Then I didn't go to. I went to parties, but didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do anything, man. My total focus was making it to the league.
Well, it's funny. Your attitude and the way you were just describing it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Henry Ford, is whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
So it's a very true statement. It's funny. I heard Riley Leonard say it last night on the post game. I really haven't heard it in like 2 decades, other unless I say it. So I like that a lot, and I think that sounds like you can manifest your own destiny if you try hard enough, right? So that's a testament to you. You're still the Browns at that time. So you're a Brown, right?
It wasn't so much the Browns that I liked. It was Jim Brown that I liked.
Oh, okay. I seem to have this need now that I want to.
They had Paul Warfield too, so they had some good players.
They did, and now I seem to have this a need to pin their, never getting to a Super Bowl on you. I don't know why. I feel really bad. So you get drafted in the second round by not the Browns, but the Patriots. Did you have a play? Did you want to go to the Browns when you got drafted? What were your thoughts going into that draft?
My thoughts were, I went to the combines and everything, and I got an agent, and my agent was telling me that, man, you're gonna probably get drafted in the 4th or the 5th round. That was fine with me, because back then there were 12 rounds, so 4th or 5th round, that's pretty good for me, right? So it didn't really matter. I didn't care who I went to. All I wanted to do was get drafted. So I'm waiting, and back then, this is 1981. They had the draft. It was on ESPN, and I got an opportunity to watch it. So I wasn't in. I'm going to get drafted in the 4th or the 5th round. So I went to the combine, and I'm watching all these guys. All these guys get drafted. Lawrence Taylor, he gets drafted in the 1st round, and Freeman McNeil, who I met at the combine, he gets drafted. So I'm really happy for these guys, because these are guys that I had met. And so I'm waiting for the 4th or the 5th round. So for the Washington Redskins was the team that I thought my agent, they kept calling my agent and wanted me to come for a visit and everything. So I thought I was going to get drafted by the Redskins in the 4th or the 5th round. And so I'm watching the draft on my in my little apartment on my 12-inch black and white TV. The kids don't know about the 12-inch black and white.
No, they don't know about the rabbit ears and putting the foil on the rabbit ears and all that, right?
I definitely had those too. And so I'm watching the draft, man, and the Patriots have a pick in the 2nd round. So I don't know how it was. They had 2 people sitting at the Patriots table. The Patriots had their own little table, and they had 2 people sitting at the table. And so the camera zooms in on the table, and I see the guy writes the name Anthony Collins. I was like, I wonder if there's another Anthony Collins in this draft. And as soon as I said that, man, I get a phone call from the Patriots. I think it was maybe Pat Sullivan. I don't know who it was who called me on the phone and says, we're getting ready to draft you. And I was like, man, I was just, it was just, I can't describe the feeling. It was feeling of, all those years that you've been believing and working hard and getting up early, staying on the field late and doing all those things, running up the hills, running the stadium steps, doing all those things, man. It all came to a flourish, and it was one of the greatest moments of my life to get that call. But it was even greater to, because my family was watching it as well, and I got to call them, and it was great, man. It was just great being drafted by the Patriots. But the funny thing is, now here's the funny thing: I get drafted by the Patriots, 1981, and so I get up to Foxborough. Now, I know you know Foxborough.
I heard very well.
I get up to Foxborough.
It's a lot different today than it was back in 1980.
A lot different there. But there's one hotel that's still there, right down the street from the stadium.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
What's the name? What is it? The Fox? The Fox
end zone. Was it the end zone?
Oh,
not the end zone.
Not the end zone. It's called the Fox Inn.
Oh yeah.
Right on Route 1, right there, right down the street from. Now you know how that hotel is, right? It's not one of the luxurious hotels on this.
It wasn't in 1981. I'm sure it's not now.
I get up there and I get to this hotel. I was like, what kind of hotel is this? They're bringing me to. What is this? But anyway, man, I was too excited to be upset about how bad the hotel was. I was just so excited. Stayed at the hotel.
I think I had Brian Holloway on. I'm pretty sure he told me the same story about the same.
Because Brian stayed at the same hotel that I did.
Yeah.
Brian was drafted number 1, and I was drafted number 2. We stayed at the same old raggedy hotel.
That's funny.
Man, it's so funny.
Well, you come to the Patriots, you come into the NFL, and you contribute right away. What? And some guys have there's a learning curve. The NFL's faster, the players are bigger, stronger, whatever. I mean, did you find a big adjustment? Did you have a big adjustment to the NFL? You played a really good rookie year.
Actually, man, it was so smooth and everything. And here's the other thing. I when they drafted me the year before, they had Vegas Ferguson was the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
And Vegas had a great year. He got rookie of the year that year he was there, and so they drafted me to return kicks. So because I returned kicks when I was in college, so that was the main reason they drafted me, because they had Vegas Ferguson, they had Horace Ivory, Mosi Tupu was there, Andy Johnson. Andy Johnson was there. And so I was like the third string running back on the team, man. You know, that was cool with me. But in my mind, and this is what I tell kids all the time, but in my mind, I was the first string running back. In my mind. Yeah. They just didn't know it yet. And so I'm working hard, man. I'm working hard. I'm trying to learn the system, because here, as a rookie, one thing that I know is that you can't make mistakes, because if you make mistakes, you're not going to get a chance to play as a rookie. So I couldn't make any mistakes, but I worked hard, worked my butt off. I know I probably drove Steve Grogan crazy my rookie year, because I kept telling Steve, can you stay after practice and throw me a few passes? Can you throw me a few passes after practice? And he would sometimes, and sometimes he see me coming, he'd take off running.
I was going to get to Steve too, and Linda. Good morning, Linda. She's got a question what it was like playing with Steve. Steve was one of my favorites during his whole career.
Steve is still my favorite. I used to have a golf tournament that I used to run, and back in my hometown. And Steve would come all the time. He would always support me, always be there for me. And we're still friends today. We still talk today. I still talk to him. Just a super guy. One of the most competitive people you want to meet, man. And I still love Steve today because of that. But it was great playing with Steve. But the thing about it was, when I got there, it was Matt Cavanaugh and Steve Grogan. They were pretty much battling back, that rookie season. And I thought Steve was much better than Matt, but I don't know. Ron Earhart had this thing. He was playing Matt and playing Steve, but who knows? I don't know. Well, my guy was Steve. So anyway.
You had some success. The team wasn't very good that year, quite frankly. Right there.
Yeah, we were 2-14.
In my experience, we're going to get more into Patriot quarterbacks during your time frame there, because things got kind of interesting through the course of the 80s. But in general, my experience with Patriot fans, and maybe the press to a certain extent, is they always wanted the guy that wasn't playing. Whoever the guy wasn't playing is the guy they thought that guy should be playing. Even when Steve was not playing and Plunkett was there, they thought Steve, and they were probably right, Steve should have been playing. But they weren't always right that the guy sitting should have been playing. Did it feel that way as a player? Did you have any sense of that type of thing?
I don't know, man. I just remember, I know I was more comfortable with Steve in the huddle than anybody else.
Yeah.
Even when Tony Eason came, Tony was a great player. No question about it. He was a great player, but he didn't have that tenacity that Steve had.
Killer instinct, maybe.
He just didn't have it, So it's always good to play with Steve. Not that Tony was. Tony led us that year, that Super Bowl year. He was a vital part of our football. When Steve got hurt, he came in. Well, actually, Tony got hurt and Steve came in.
Right.
Did this thing, and I'm gonna tell you, man, it was tough. And I know he deserved to get his job back, but Steve was winning. We were winning with Steve.
I guess I'll jump forward. It wasn't going to jump forward quite yet, but since we're on this topic, I always I loved Easton. I thought he had a ton of talent, and he had the talent, as you said. But something was missing, and it seemed like all through those years, and Tony looked like a deer in the headlight in that Super Bowl, unfortunately, and played good football through the playoffs. But that game against the Bears, things just went crazy. And then his career after that, had a good year the next year, and you guys lost in the first round of playoffs, and a tough place to play in Denver. But things got progressively worse. And then I felt like, no disrespect to Doug Flutie, but when Doug Flutie comes in, who do you think those people are going to want to play? I mean, oh my gosh. It was a revolving door of quarterbacks there for a while. I remember Wilson. I remember Flutie. I remember, Steve was still hanging around for a while.
Ramsey was
Tom Ramsey. Yeah, another one. I mean, every week we had a different quarterback play. And then what was it like in the locker room? It's got to divide a locker room as well when you have that type of.
It really doesn't divide it. You have some guys that, we're not going to really talk about it out in public or anything like that. But, we had the thing about it was when Ron Myers came, it was kind of different. Ron Myers was a college coach coming in, coaching these guys, and I knew from I didn't have a problem with Coach Myers. I had no problem with him because I'm just out of college anyway, so I'm good with it. I'm good.
Other
with
guys did,
but John Hanna and Pete Brock and Shelby Jordan and some of the Steve Nelson, some of the older guys, man, just they were bumping heads with Ron, and we came close. I mean, I think the best record that Ron had maybe was 8-8 or something like that. I'm not really sure.
He's 5-4. I think he got the strike year. I think 5-4. You made that. They extended the playoffs. And
that was his best. That was his best thing. But when Raymond Barry came there, man, he turned the whole thing around in actually 1 year. And it's no disrespect to Coach Myers. I thought he was a good coach, and he was a winning coach. He just didn't know how to communicate with the older players.
Yeah,
the younger players, we were fine with it, but the older players, it was just something that was missing. But when Coach Barry came in, man, it was just like a whole nother. Everything just seemed just so smooth, and man, and we did different things. We practiced recovering fumbles. I mean, offensive linemen practice falling on the fumbles. Everybody was falling on fumbles, and that year I think we led the league in turnovers or something like
the Super Bowl year. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and again, you watch Coach Barry. It seemed like you need to nudge him to wake him up. It looked like a couple of times, right? Because he was so just reserved and stoic, never get excited, never get down. And
so cool. You never see him get upset. I've never seen Coach get upset at all, man. I always told him that, and I tell him that. Man, you were really cool. We love Coach. And the thing about Coach too, which I loved about him, there was always something that he would put in, a little something about God, a little something about your family, a little something about doing the right thing, a little something about, he always give you these golden nuggets that you would just cherish and just think, man, I want to do that. I want to play hard for him. I want to do that for him. So he was that type of coach.
That's awesome. And like during the game, it seemed to me, again, people who are on the outside might think, this guy's not doing anything. He's just standing there with his hand on no headset. I mean, he was a delegator. It felt like, again, from the outside, he was a delegator, let his coordinators run the game, and he would make maybe a call here or there that, on important plays, and let guys play and let coaches coach. Is that fair?
That's exactly what he did. Exactly what he did, and I thought it was just great because he had a great staff around him. Dante was there. I can't remember the defensive coordinator name that was there at the time. What's that defensive coordinator?
Was it Rod Rust?
Rod Rust actually was the head coach for the Patriots later on, but
1 year, that was our last year, 1-15.
Yeah, that was a bad year. But Rod Russell was a hell of a defensive coach, though. He really. Yeah.
He actually was a coordinator again, I believe, after he was a head coach. I think he came back in the early, right after he got fired as head coach. I think he coached a year or two as a coordinator. Talk to us about that, since we were still around that Super Bowl year. Again, if I remember right, team started off like 2-4, not very good, went on a great run. But you beat some of the, blue bloods of the NFL in the playoffs. You beat the arch rival Jets. You beat the Raiders on the road. We could play Jets at home. Raiders on the road. Dolphins on the road.
No one thought we had a chance, really. We snuck in the playoffs. Our last game, we beat Cincinnati to get into the playoffs. Got in the playoffs, and we had to go to New York and went down there and beat them. Nobody thought we were going to beat them, and so now we got to go to the Raiders. No one thinks we're going to beat the Raiders. No way. So we go out to LA to play the Raiders, and man, we had a great game. Our special teams maybe had like 2 or 3 turnovers or something like that.
Yeah,
and we beat them, and so now. The matchup that everybody wanted to see was Miami Dolphins and the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl, because Miami Dolphins was the only team that beat the Chicago Bears that year, and so everybody wanted to see that game. And man, we had other thoughts. We had never won down there in about maybe 23 years or something like that. I don't know how long it was, maybe 16 years. We hadn't won down in Miami, but we went into that game knowing that we were going to win. We knew we were going to win. We knew we were a better team than they were. We just had to break the jinx, and we did. We broke it. We broke it wide open.
Running the football was important to that team. Obviously, your numbers weren't as high as some of your other years, but you and Craig James and trying to think, there was somebody else I feel like was a major contributor. Running the football was key to that team, right?
Craig James, Robert Weathers, Moses Tupu.
Robert Weathers. Yeah.
And here's the thing, and this is how great coach Coach Barry was. Now Craig James is a halfback.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm a halfback too. So he puts Craig James at fullback and puts me at halfback. And so now not knocking nothing from Craig James. He's a great guy. He's a great football player, but he can't block. But I can block because I learned how to block at East Carolina. Remember?
I remember.
So I was the blocking back actually that year, and being a halfback, I was really the blocking back, and I think Craig rushed for over 1,200 yards that season, and but I caught a whole bunch of passes out of the backfield, and we just he used us, and nobody was selfish. I didn't mind Craig getting the ball because we were winning. As long as we were winning, man, I'm good. Now, if we weren't winning, then there'd be a different story. But I didn't mind him getting the ball. I didn't mind blocking for him because my goal was to win. We just wanted to win.
Very talented team. All over the place. You got Fryer and Morgan.
Stanley Morgan. We got Irvin Fryer. Man, Ramsey, the tight end, was a great tight end too. Lynn Dawson, that tight end.
Very good combination. The defense really good. Obviously, Andre Tippett and Blackman and you go on and on. Defensive backs were really good. Yeah. As you go into that Super Bowl, I'm sure you're confident. The week didn't go great. I know Irving Fryer cuts his finger in some. I had Irving on the show a couple of years ago too. It was interesting. He always found himself in weird situations. I'll tell you a quick story before we go back to that Super Bowl week. We're sitting in the stadium one time, and I feel like it was like the year after the Super Bowl, maybe 2. I don't know. But Irving leaves the field in the middle of the game. Got hurt or something, and there's a guy who used to listen to the games on the radio sat next to us, and this is like third quarter. He goes, Fryer just racked up his car leaving the stadium. I'm like, it's the third quarter. Where is he? Why is he driving his car away from the stadium? And he drove into a ditch or something, or some weird thing. But Irving always seemed to have weird things happening to him in New England. Anyway, he really flourished later on.
Yeah, he did. Irvin's a great guy, man. He's one of my a good friend of mine right to this day. He's another one who we still keep in contact to this day. Just a great person. He actually is a minister right now.
Yeah, he told me that, and he does a podcast too as well.
Yeah, he has a great podcast.
Yeah.
He's doing really well.
What was that? So get back to that week. What was it like leading up to that Super Bowl? And I mean, the confidence. Matt, to me, talent-wise, you're as good as the Bears.
Man, we played the Bears early in the season, and they kind of beat us kind of bad. But going into the game, man, we were so confident. And after beating Miami, man, we were on top of the world. That was really our Super Bowl right there. And so we were on top of the world, and we had all the confidence in the world coming into the game. And man, the game started, and they started on offense, and Walter Payton fumbles the ball. Now we got a turnover. We're right in field position, and I'm gonna tell you, to this day, and I tell Stanley this all the time. If we would have scored a touchdown on that first drive, and we came inches from scoring the touchdown, because
I know
the pass when Tony Easton threw that pass to Stanley Morgan in the zone, it was like inches for him catching that ball. And I truly believe to this day, man, if we just scored a touchdown and not a field goal, our momentum would have just took us over the roof. But it's a whole different thing came through, and we didn't score a touchdown, only kicked a field goal. We're up 3-0, and then the lights went out.
It's funny. I had a party, and I probably over imbibed then. I was a little younger, so I probably over imbibed that day. But I remind people all the time the Patriots had 3-0 in that game. And then I said, I swear to God, I got involved chatting with people. And next thing I look up, it's 35-3, and it felt like 5 minutes went by. So, I mean, still a great accomplishment to get there. It was a great team. Did you think, oh, we got it, man, we're going to be back here next year. We'll be back here the year after. Do you think that at that point?
We did. We really did. I mean, and that's why I tell guys all the time, and it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. I don't care who you are, what kind of team. I look at Kansas City, the Chiefs. They've been there 2 times in a row now, trying to make it for the 3rd year in a row. That's one of the toughest things to do as a professional football team, is to make it 3 years in a row. Not just 3, even 2, to make it 2 years in a row. I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. And now you look at the Patriots when Brady was there, and all those years that we kept winning. Man, it's not just the players. It's not just the coaches. It's not just fans. It's a community. I feel like it's a community of everything just working together. As a Patriots, I mean, they didn't have the best players when they went to all those Super Bowls. They didn't have the best running back. They had the best quarterback, but they didn't have the best receiver in the league. They didn't have the best lineman in the league. Everybody just did their job. You know what I mean?
I always try to tell people, name the skill position players that are going to the Hall of Fame that Tom Brady played with. Rob Gronkowski will go.
Yeah,
Randy Moss, but Randy Moss didn't win any Super Bowls there either. So he won Super Bowls with guys like Deion Branch, all good players.
Yeah.
That first Super Bowl, I try to remind people, David Patton, Troy Brown, and David Givens, I think, was on that team. You guys don't remember these names, and he went to Super Bowl. Come on.
Yeah, everybody did their job.
Is there any? This is interesting. I don't think I've ever asked anybody this question. So you were on some good teams, and the team, I mean, they kind of started to regress later in your time there, and we'll get to the end of your career here in a second. You're talking about the Patriot dynasty. As an ex-player, is there any sense of jealousy at all, or are you just proud of your former organization? How does that work for a guy like Tony Collins?
No, I'm absolutely proud of our organization. Kind of upset with them right now, though. I mean, just I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know. I understand, but here's the thing, and I'm just gonna lay it out for you. You don't have Brady anymore, so you need go-to receivers. You need a good offensive lineman. I think they have a good quarterback right now in May, but he has no one to throw the ball to.
No, or
He
protection, right?
He has no one. He has no one that I can say, man, boy, that's a great receiver right there. Don't have the great tight end. I mean, Henry's a good tight end, but he's not a great tight end. I mean, it's just he's got average guys around him, and you know, not put nothing on Mayo. I thought he did a great job with what he had. I mean, I thought he did a good job with what he had. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know why he won the last game. But anyway,
well, players try to win. Brings up a great point. Players don't ever try to tank, do they? I mean, you played on a team that was 2-14. Did the team try to lose to get a better draft pick? No,
we definitely did not. We definitely did not. But here's my thing. Here's my thing. And players aren't gonna tank, and I know coaches don't want to tank, but man,
organizations do.
I really feel that even though we're not going to get the first pick, we're going to get the fourth pick. They've got to do some off season, getting some veteran guys in here. Some Hill, just versus Hill, that the guy from Miami right now. He doesn't want to be down there anymore. Let's get him in New England.
They got a boatload of money to spend, so.
I don't know who our GM is. I don't know what he's doing, man. But we are not on the right track of getting this thing turned around right now. And you know, they're going to probably bring Grable in as the head coach, and I think he's a great coach. But I'm gonna tell you what, if they have the same material they have there, he's not going to win either.
Yeah,
he's not going to win.
I don't disagree. For sure. Get back to your career. When your time with the Patriot comes to an end, talk to us about the end of your Patriot career. What caused you to leave? I mean, you go to Baltimore, you get suspended for a year. So, talk to us about that part of your career life. What was going on?
That part of my life was the mess. One of the reasons why I wrote my book, Broken Road: Turning My Mess into a Message. My whole life was football, and when I got to the league, my not my rookie season, my third season in the league. No, I take it back. My second season in the league, I got cracked ribs. Now, mind you, the year before that, I beat out Vegas Ferguson and Horace Ivey because they got hurt. The only reason I played my rookie season is because Horace Ivey was hurt and Vegas Ferguson was hurt. So I was the next spot. So going into my second season, now I get cracked ribs at the beginning of the season. Now I have a decision to make: either sit out, give somebody opportunity to take my job, like I took their job last year, or keep playing. And so my thing was, I made the decision I was going to keep playing. And when I kept playing, I had to get shots. I got injections in my side, and all a bunch of pills that I was taking. And so I got addicted to pain pills. I really got addicted to pain pills, and I was taking a lot of pain pills my second year in the league. But I was taking so many pain pills that I was getting nausea, and it was getting bad. And so one of the guys on the team, and I can tell you the guy who told me, he said, "Look, smoke some marijuana, and it'll take the nauseousness away from you." And so I did, and now I'm popping pills and I'm smoking marijuana, and I'm playing, I'm performing, everything is going really good. But the marijuana led to other things. And here's the thing: when you hang around people that you should not be around, you're gonna do the things that they're doing. And that's what I was doing, and it turned into a big mess. The marijuana went from marijuana to cocaine, and that's when everything just started just going really bad. And I went through my third season in the league. I went to the Pro Bowl, and I was just going through the motions, man. Because I'm still popping the pills. I'm still addicted to the pills.
Yeah.
Went through that and kept going, but the addiction of the cocaine got worse. And
that started early in your career too. That wasn't later on. The cocaine started earlier.
Cocaine started my third year in the league.
Yeah.
My third year in the league. That's when I started using that, and then it just got worse and worse, man. And I started hanging around people that I shouldn't hang around, and then the whole thing came out. about us being at a party and stuff, and so it all got blown up with that, and it was and I say this all the time. God, I can't think of this guy's name. He's a writer up there. If you say some of the writers up there, you'll know he's got
McDonough. No. He was a big football guy in that time.
He's got black hair. I think he's still around. I'm not sure. Whatever. But he kind of broke the whole story out with me and different things, and broke the whole story. And I thank him today for that. I really thank him today for that. And I've talked to him, and I talked to him, and I thanked him for this a long time ago. And I thanked him, and because by him doing that, it really kind of opened up things. And and then I got released by the Patriots. One of the saddest days of my life. Got released by the Patriots, and Ron Myers was in Indianapolis, and so Ron Myers picked me up, and so now I'm and this I got to tell you the story, and this is how I think God works, and I truly believe this. And now I'm out in Indianapolis, and so they're testing me every day. I had to go all over. I had to go to New York City to meet the commissioner and everything. Got reinstated. I didn't. This is before that. I'm sorry. I take that back. This is after I got suspended. So I get to Indianapolis, and so I'm getting tested every single day. I know I'm going to get tested every single day, so I'm good. And so during training camp, we had a couple of days off. And so one of the guys, they had a little party. And so, I'm going to go to the party, and I knew I shouldn't go to the party. But I went to the party anyway. But I went to the party, and there were drugs at the party. But listen, I know I got to get up the next morning and take a drug test. So I'm not going to mess with anything. So stupid. I'm in the room with everybody smoking marijuana, but I'm just sitting there, just doing nothing. I'm not smoking because I got to take a drug test the next day. And so I go take my drug test the next day. Go out and practice, have a good practice, blah, 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 blah. And the day after that, Ron Myers calls me into the room and says, "You were tested positive for marijuana." I was like, "Man, I didn't smoke no marijuana." Not knowing about the inhaling of stuff.
Secondhand contact or whatever.
And it showed up on my test. And because of that, because I made the decision to go to that party, I got suspended for a whole entire year from the league, and that just kind of really set me to a point where I was sure ashamed. I went through a lot of things. Thought about suicide. Thought about different things, man. It was one of the lowest points of my life. But
what brought you back from the brink of that point where you're thinking about suicide? What brings you back from that?
Well, first of all, it was in my kids. I had my daughter, my son, and one of the things that I think about all the time was them. When every time when those thoughts would come, I would think about them, and I would go. But here's the thing: I met this lady. I met this lady over the phone. See, I was living in Miami at the time, and she was living in San Antonio. And man, we talked over the phone, and I fell in love with her over the phone. And she encouraged me. She would send me different things from T.D. Jakes, all these different scriptures, and she would show me all these different things, all these positive things, because I was this negative person. This is like 8 years after I've been out of the league, and so I was just really going through the motions with my son, just trying to get him trying to get him into college. And she actually saved my life, man. She really did. She changed my life, and she's my wife today.
I was going to say, please tell me you're still together. This story isn't quite good.
Yeah, she's my wife today. So it was a great journey for me, man. And I wrote the book to help kids. My goal was to help kids, because I know there were kids out there who were just like me. Man, I was so naive, so young, so I didn't know nothing about drugs. I didn't know nothing about alcohol. I didn't do nothing of those things until I got to the league. And so I knew there were other kids just like that. So I wrote it to help kids. And actually what it did, it helped a whole lot of other people. And it was a bestseller for me. And I'm not a book writer. I had I got a person to help me do it, and writer for me, and so I just sat down and just told her my story, just like I'm talking to you. We just went through the whole thing, man, and it came out pretty good, and I'm helping a lot of people. So that's what it's all about. When you go through things in life and you get the opportunity to help people, not go through the things that you went through, it's a good deal.
One thing, and the book is still out there, guys. So I found it on Amazon. I've got it coming. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it loaded to my Kindle, as I told Tony earlier. My wife has got me, so I don't even have a paper.
You got to get the real book, man.
So we'll get that book, and we'll post this to the website. It's still out there to be found right here on Amazon and some other places. So make sure that you do that. It's a great book. It's funny, too, Tony. I've had a lot of guys on the show have stories similar to yours, and to a man, they've all given back and made something good come of the struggles that they had, and you've obviously done the same thing. So you've also established. Where's my note? You established a foundation for children too, for kids, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
We do our foundation. I mainly use it for my hometown up in New York, like my little small hometown. And the crazy thing about it was when I first started the foundation, there was a big drug epidemic in Penn. Kids were dying in Penn.
Really.
So, man, I said, man, this is crazy. This is. I know God is definitely telling me to do something about this because, I'm from Penn. This can't happen. So I just went back home and started the foundation there and just helping kids and, just telling my story. I did a big book tour up there and went through all the high schools up in upstate New York. And, man, we made a big progress and got a lot of good results from that. And, man, and it's all about giving back. I was fortunate enough to God gave me the ability to play a sport that I love, and it was just an opportunity for me to give back, and I'm just so thankful for that I had the opportunity to give back. And
you're doing a lot of that today, getting out in front of kids.
Not as much as I used to, man. One of the things now is can't travel alone anymore. I can't travel by myself. So
is this because of what we talked about? Again, a lot of guys in your situation coming out of the NFL, CTE, and a lot of the stuff going on. Tell us a little about your experiences here.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, man. I don't really like being alone because I get these things. I don't know how to describe it. I'll just tell you what happens. For a couple minutes, I don't know where I'm at. If I'm alone, if I'm alone in a place that I don't know, I've not usually been there. That I sometimes it happens where I just kind of I don't know how to call it. I get in this. I don't want to call it a daze. I get in this thing where I have no idea where I'm at, and it only lasts for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. But to me, in my mind, it's like an hour.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary, man. It really is. But that's really the only thing. Of course, you had the headaches. Got to have the shades on when you go outside when the sun hits your eyes and stuff like that. But I've gone through the tests and doing all the tests, and of course, I failed all the tests and just waiting on see if they're gonna help me out with this or all. There's a lot of other players that I know for a fact that are worse off than me. Players not in the league, players that I played with that are worse off than me, and they really need help. And I'm hoping that the NFL and that these guys, when they send us to these doctors and we do all these tests and we fail all these tests, but we still don't get any results. So we're just still here just waiting. One of the things is kind of tough on my wife because now she doesn't really want to leave me alone. But now, as long as I'm in a good place, she got me a dog. That's the dog.
Well, there you go.
She got me a dog, so I don't have to nerve.
The league's got to start taking care of you guys. I would have thought I can't remember the movie with Will Smith a few years ago came out, and there was a lot of focus on this topic, and unfortunately, it seems like it goes away until there's a tragedy with a player, and we've seen way too many of those things, right?
Yeah.
And
when I first saw that movie, man, I was like, "Oh man, that's terrible! I can't believe those guys are having to." And one of the guys, Terry Long, who played at Pittsburgh. I played with him at East Carolina, and so that really hit home for me when Terry Long went through that and killed himself. It's tough, man. But I'm believing God that everything's going to work out. I'm the thing about it is, and just like when I was wanted to play in the league, it's all about keeping positive. You got to stay positive all the time, even when you have those bad days. I still got to stay positive. Still got to be believing. Keep doing things. Keep trying to use my mind and keep trying to do things. Doing different skills to help me with this. So I'm okay. I'm not no pity party. I'm very happy.
Yeah, I understand, but I just think the league needs to take care of.
They do. And
they know the dangers. Is there? I've talked to a few guys like yourself who have pursued their own individual cases. Is there any class action type thing going on? And maybe
there is going on, but it's just like I said. They sent us to a doctor, and then the doctor and the doctor is not qualified. And I got to go to a doctor. I got to go to a doctor in Houston next week. Now this has been going on. I'm going to be totally honest with you. This has been going on now for almost 10 years of me seeing doctors. So it is what it is. I put it in God's hands. I'm just leave it in God's hands to see what happens.
Well, that's a great attitude to take, Tony. I got a couple of comments that have come through here that I didn't touch on. If I can go through them real quick, and then we'll let you get out of here. I really appreciate your time this morning. Let's see, where did I leave off here? That's a good question. You did spend a little time in Miami, not a lot.
I did.
What were your memories of Shula and your short time in Miami?
It was great, man. Shula, just like everybody thinks or that really doesn't know him, great coach. Just a fantastic coach, fantastic person. Man, I love playing for him. Even the short time that I played for him, which I wish he's just that type of coach where you would really want to go through a wall for. Got a chance to play with Dan Marino and those guys, and it was really cool playing down there, even though it was such a short time.
You hung on for a while. I mean, after Miami, you were playing in the Arena Football League. And, I mean, you just weren't ready to retire. You couldn't let go.
No, actually, the Arena thing was kind of funny because I was going to coach.
You couldn't be playing for the money, I wouldn't think. In the Arena League, I don't think.
I was actually going to coach. I was going to coach for the Orlando Predators at that time. I was going to coach them, and I went for the coaching job. And I was like, man, I can play. I can still play. And so I said, I don't want to coach. I want to play. So they let me play. They suited me up, and I started. Man, we had a pretty decent team too.
You played for a few teams. Did you ever play against the Firebirds, Albany Firebirds? They were really good at the time.
I don't think they were in the league when I was there at that time. They might have been, but
they've had a team, then they folded, then they came back. Now they're the Empire or something.
I played with the Cincinnati Rockers, and the Art Schleicher was our quarterback.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You remember Art now? Huh?
I do. Yes. Another guy with an interesting story. Chris, good morning, by the way. I didn't say good. He's our Canadian correspondent here. I brought up Bo Jackson and his ties to Auburn and Pat Dye, obviously. Did you and Bo, do you know Bo, and did you guys have conversations about that?
I played against Bo one time when he was with the Raiders. Just a phenomenal person, too. Not just an athlete, just a great guy. Bo's a great guy, man. He's just one of those guys who if he's your friend, man, you got a good friend in Bo Jackson. So I'm gonna tell you something. If Bo Jackson would have just stuck with just playing football, he would have been the best running back ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. He was some kind of athlete for sure.
Ever.
Rick, Tony and I are about the same age, so I don't think Tony played with Joe Cap because Joe Cap
I'm
was
not that
gone
old.
about
Come
10
on,
years
Rick.
before.
Come on, man.
We're all Rick. I went to school with Rick. Rick's a few years older than me. He's not old enough to have played with Joe Cap either.
I do know Joe Cap, but I didn't play against him.
Was he? Was he? Did you know Joe very well, or?
No, I didn't know Joe at all.
Yeah, he was probably a bit of it. My guess is Joe Cap was a little crazy. So we got a couple more, and I'm going to let you go. It's JB from Backing Up Binge Podcast. He's still mad about one game from Tony's career, the snowplow game. Tony recovered the fumble to play before the game-winning field goal. Tell us about that. When that's Ron Meyer, I believe, correct?
Yeah, that's Ron Meyer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that game, boy, Coach Schuler he was so upset.
Oh,
Boy, he was. I've never seen a guy. he didn't like that at all. But it was fun beating him that day. The snowplow game, I remember that.
Oh, it was an interesting game in NFL history. Bob, I don't know if you know Bob. Bob's maybe the best Patriot historian I know. So he gives us all the wide receivers from that 2001 championship team. Bob's really good. We had Bob on a few weeks ago, and he knows it all, man. Haven't asked. Well, what are you up to today? Reading books, listening to music, any restaurants you like?
I try to not read books that much. Just doing different things as far as keeping my mind going. Reading is not one of my big things. I can't concentrate that much if I'm reading a book. But
music is music something that helps you? Or?
Music does help a lot. I do listen to a lot of music, a lot of jazz and different things like that. And actually, my best restaurant to go to is Chick-fil-A.
You wait in line for hours for Chick-fil-A, do you? Or we do up here, hours you got to wait. I go to Popeyes.
Like the spicy tail.
I go to Popeyes if I got a bad taste for a chicken sandwich because I get it in 5 minutes, not like an hour and a half. So. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Right?
Bob brings up your stat again. So listen, not Emmitt Smith, but pretty good NFL career, Tony. Nothing to be.
Here's the thing, and I tell my wife all the time. I said one day, I think one day they're going to put me into the Patriots Hall of Fame because maybe I think I'm the third leading rusher in history for the team. So maybe they'll put me.
Well, we will start that push here, Bob. Let's get on this, Bob. Bob's got some pull there, and Bob also points out the writer, the story you talked about before.
Ron Burgess, that's
Ron
it.
Burgess.
That's the guy. That's the guy
Yeah.
who I think, man. Ron Burgess was that guy, man. He put that story out, and I met him. I talked to him maybe this is a long time ago, maybe like 8 years ago now. And man, I thanked him for that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Bob also talks about your book being a transformational, life-changing book, and I can't wait to get into it. I love inspirational books, so I'm excited to get your book. Everybody get out there and get.
It's gonna definitely help you. If you're going through some stuff, man, it'll definitely help you.
Thank you, Bob. Bob also got the address for me for the Tony Collins Foundation. Bob has been a big help. Bob's producing this show today. Thank you, Bob.
Bob's my guy too. I like Bob. I know Bob.
Dude, Bob's a good guy, and we'll get all this stuff. We'll get all this posted to the website for you too. What's your? It's a good question. What's your opinion of the way the NFL views running backs today is kind of interchangeable? We're not going to pay any money because we can replace you with someone else.
The running backs are not getting the due that they need. I'm gonna tell you, if you got and you can see it for yourself. I mean, pretty much everybody that's in the playoffs right now that's in the playoffs, they got a decent running back on their team. I mean, might not be a superstar, but he's pretty decent.
Great.
And so I really feel that the running backs aren't getting the due that they have, because here's the thing. Now, with how the offense is, if you don't have two decent running backs on your squad, man, you might be hurting a little bit, because you need that backup, because you got that thing. But here's the thing. Here's why I don't think the running backs are getting what they deserve, because for the simple fact, it's a passing game, of course. We know the passing game. The quarterback's going to get the money. The wide receiver's going to get the money. But the running backs, it's a thing where if you have just one running back on your team and you don't have another running back, that running back gets hurt, man. You're some
Right.
And so financially, I think the running backs are getting maybe not a rare, awful deal, but I think it could be more, because I think the running backs are important. Every Super Bowl team, I really feel if they don't have a running game, they probably won't win the Super Bowl. They might get there, but as far as controlling the ball, you need to control the ball.
Yeah, great. And maybe the fact that you have to have two good ones hurts them financially, because you only have so much money, right?
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah. Bob mentions the movie was Concussion that I couldn't think of the name of. Thank you for that. Rick mentions he loves your sense of humor and the love of life, despite the trials, tribulations, and even the things you're going through today. You do seem to have a great attitude.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, Keith. Life is good, man, and I'm living the best life, man. I really am. Even though the things that I'm dealing with, I don't look at it as a problem. I look at it as I just look for the solution. What can I do to make myself better? What can I do to get me out of this or whatever? But and it's all about just having this positive attitude, and I really feel that it's all gonna work out. It's all gonna work out. I'm believing. I have an aunt who just turned 99 this past Christmas, and I told her, I said, I want to live as long as you live, and if I keep working out and I keep doing what I'm supposed to do, stay away from all the bad stuff and all the bad food, I'm gonna hit 100. That's my goal.
Well, I asked you about the Predators, and you probably don't remember, but Bob does. The Albany Predators played the Firebirds on July 6, 1991, and Albany won the game. Sorry about that.
There you go.
And I don't know whether we should have brought this up, but apparently you drove your car into a lake a couple of days later. Thanks, Bob. I guess we'll end the show on a high note, Bob. Thank you for that. I'm glad you can laugh about that, Tony. So,
oh, man, that's great.
So
yeah,
listen,
those were the rough days.
Stick with me for a second so I could say a proper goodbye. Guys, you've been wonderful. Tony's been wonderful. I want to thank you so much. Get out, get his book, help out the foundation, do whatever you can do. Guys, I don't know. We don't have a guest next week. We're still trying to track down a couple of guys, and if not, it's going to be your show. So get ready to come on the show and give your takes. But I want to thank Tony Collins and thank all of you. I'll be back Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. You guys have a great Friday. Enjoy semifinal number 2 tonight.